Meeting come to order. Roll call. Councilman Robert Gansby,
Present.
Vice Mayor Nicole Williams,
Present.
Councilwoman Cheryl McCall. Present. Councilwoman Shirley Aldrich.
Shirley.
Might be on mute.
She said she had it tonight.
She might have been at the meeting, the other meeting was adjourned.
Oh.
You said one of these for each person I talked to per month?
One for each application, just put up enough information.
She might be taking her injection.
Did I ever say something about taking medicine?
Right.
And Mayor Brown is here. Let's note that Shirley Aldrich is absent at this time. You might know about it.
No, I'm looking to see.
The next one, additional and deletion and amendment. Do we have anything to add or delete? Can I get a motion? Oh, you don't have anything? Okay. Okay, the next thing on the agenda, the next item on the citizen from the floor. Wait a minute.
We're here, but these are for the applications. So
These applications here. Read them, sir.
So if you're here to talk about the applications, you'll get a chance to talk during the quasi judicial process. It's only come up right now if you have something else you're gonna ask about.
What is this about? This one?
This is just our standard citizens from the floor line item in our agenda, so
Is it about the zoning?
No.
No, not yet.
not yet. If you want to talk about a specific application, we're gonna go through the whole process of what quasi judicial process is. You'll get a chance to come up and
Okay,
We can turn it over to the, did you say you're,
we need to elect a chair and a vice chair.
did you say you're director?
Well, that's up to, they've got to vote.
Oh.
that's where we at now. We getting ready to election of the chairperson and the vice chairperson.
I would like to apply for chair.
Do it again?
I'm nominating myself for chair.
I second the motion.
Any more nominees? Make a motion to close the meeting.
I move that we accept Mr. Gansby as the chair for planning and zoning.
Sure. Can I have a second?
I thought she seconded.
No, she went to the
Oh, I
motion.
seconded.
Okay, it has been motion and second that Mr. Robert Gansby be the chair person for the planning and zoning. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, ayes have it, motion carried. Okay, the next one, vice chairman.
Everybody don't raise your hands at once.
Now, does vice chair have any different things than the regular?
The vice chair is kind of like the vice mayor, if I'm ever absent and we're having a zoning board meeting, then whoever the vice chair would be the presiding officer.
Okay, I'll self-nominate.
I nominate Cheryl, Paul.
1 second.
Okay, has been motion and second that Cheryl McCall will be the, vice chairperson. In the discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Congratulations.
Any opposers? Ayes have it, motion carried.
All right, I guess this is my meeting going forward.
Yes, it is.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry to subject you to my mumbling and my covering my face, but,
Not doing that.
yeah, I'm trying not to. You'll have to give me a report card at the end. So our first business is PZB Resolution 25-01, an adoption of rules and regulations. It's page 12 through 23 of our packets. Basically, it outlines, it's a resolution of the Town of White Springs, Florida Planning and Zoning Board adopting regulations for the board, providing for conflict severability and effect.
Got a quick clarification, I think.
Sure.
So, the resolution should say rules and regulations, that's missing there. And, the early, packet had rules of procedure, and I simply changed the words to rules and regulations, since those were the terms that were used in the LBRs. So, this had rules of procedure, I changed it to rules and regulations.
Okay.
That was an old copy.
That preamble?
So the preamble, adopting rules and regulations, rules is missing here. And then the title. In the original packet, it said rules of procedure. Switch that to rules and regulations to match the LDR language.
So we're changing what was on page 14 of our packet.
So page 12 of our packet, we're adding the word
The
rules.
packet
after
I
adopted.
gave you is correct. The big stapled packet I gave you is correct.
I'm looking at my old packet.
We're on page 12 now. I think this be 2501.
But this is a planning and zoning board resolution.
Okay.
Do we have any motions?
I move that we adopt planning and zoning board resolution, rules and regulations 2025-01.
Second motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution number 2025-01 in the Planning and Zoning Board. Do we have any discussions?
None.
Let's bring it to a vote. Everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
Everybody opposed say no. Ayes have it, 4-0.
Question? I was still voting. This person have 7 people.
Yes, in an ideal world, we would have 2 alternates.
Say that again.
2 alternates. It's 5 members with 2 alternates.
And a board member, school board member.
School board member when dealing with density issues,
So we still have
a
to,
non-voting school board member.
so we still have to get 2 alternates for this?
Alternates are only needed when the current board members aren't available.
So as long as we've got a quorum, we're okay?
You have a quorum.
Sorry.
Okay.
Moving on to item 7. Actually, that should be done later. This should be number 2, the quasi-judicial procedures. All right, so we're going to skip number 7 because that should be coming up in quasi-judicial public hearings. We have no old business. So we are going to move to the quasi judicial process. I wrote a script, so I apologize, I will be reading it for the next 3 hours.
Robert.
Today's agenda includes a quasi judicial hearing on the 3 rezoning applications found under new business. RZ 2025-01, application by Michael Hutchinson and Anjeet Hutchinson to rezone parcel 8077-000 from commercial neighborhood to residential single-family / mobile home 1 related to ordinance 2025-1. B, RZ 2025-2, application by Michael Hutchinson and Anjeet Hutchinson to rezone parcel 8076-000 from commercial neighborhood to residential single-family / mobile home -1 related to ordinance 2025-2. And C, RZ 2025-3, application by Cynthia Williams and Don Shea Brown to rezone parcel 8259-000 from residential single-family to residential single-family / mobile home 2 related to ordinance 2025-03. Can our town attorney please run through the procedures for the hearings and inquire of the members of the Planning and Zoning Board regarding any ex parte communications?
All right, this is a quasi-judicial hearing. The board is examining facts and evidence and applying existing laws and codes like a judge in a civil or criminal case. Therefore, any ex parte communications must be disclosed. An ex parte communication occurs when a party to an application or someone involved with a party talks or writes to or otherwise communicates directly with a board member about the issues involved with the application without the public present. A process has been established to disclose ex parte communications with such board members. When this procedure is allowed, the presumption of prejudice is removed. At this time, all board members must publicly disclose any and all ex parte communications they have had and complete the disclosure form.
So, do I read these or?
Each one should mention their ex parte communications.
Cheryl?
This is just for the 1 and 2,
This is for all of them,
all 3?
1, 2, and 3.
I thought we had separate hearings.
Well, they are, but so once we get past ex parte communications and once we get past swearing in the witnesses, we then will branch off the first application, go through the process, second, third.
Okay. I have ex parte with Electric, about her sewer line, just that I communicated with Mr. Garner to find out whether she could hook up or not. And then, as far as, with, the other lot, it was with, I talked to Scott, the Gazelle, and Patrick, the attorney, and it was, I was given ordinances and statutes and stuff like that concerning what the legalities are on it.
Okay. Did the communication influence her decision making?
As far as not understanding the laws, yes, because I didn't understand the laws before, but as far as my personal opinion, without the laws, no.
Okay.
Nicole?
I received an email from an attorney, Patrick something, I know. I did not respond to the email because him being an attorney, I felt that he needed to speak to our attorney and not me, and not to overstep my boundaries as a council member.
Sandra?
Yes, I talked with, Patrick K. And, he sent me an email and I was reading the email. And, I didn't know that he was an attorney until I called him. But we was discussing, mobile home too. And to me, I was like, hey, it's there. You know, and,
You don't have to give your opinion, just, but the subject matter.
yeah. But no, it doesn't, change me.
So today I talked to Patrick Kuchowski on the phone. He expressed his desire to see the zoning changes for parcel 8259 rejected, or at a minimum to see the zoning process delayed until the applicants pay the appropriate fees for ordinance 0701. Discussed previous administration zoning process appeals in current town council. The discussion influenced my stance on whether or not we should slow down the speed of the process, but did not influence my opinion on the appropriateness of the requested change. From 5/25 through today, I received a number of email communications from Patrick Kuchowski, mostly objecting to the mobile home on parcel 8259. I printed emails, including it with my form. And during our meeting of the Comprehensive Plan Committee on 7/10, Thomas Brazil expressed an opinion that he did not like mobile homes during our meeting. That did not influence my opinion.
That's fine. I need to-
Thank you, Leslie. While the Planning and Zoning Board welcomes comments from all persons with an interest in this proceeding, please note Florida law requires that only competent, substantial, fact-based testimony or evidence will be considered by the board in deciding the quasi-judicial matters. Your speculation or opinion, not based on competent facts, cannot be legally considered by the board in weighing the appropriateness of the application. If you intend to comment or to provide evidence or testimony, please keep this in mind. Finally, before addressing the board, and in order to keep the public record accurate, you complete a speaker form and state your name, state your address, and whether or not you have been sworn in when you approach the podium to speak on the quasi-judicial matter. Please note that we will not permit comments or questions from the floor while not recognized by the chair during your recognized testimony. Since this is a quasi-judicial process, all testimony must be given under oath. Will anyone who intends to offer testimony during this hearing please stand and be sworn in?
Can do this?
No.
Question, can you not give opinions?
You can, but we can't say everybody hates it, so we're gonna say no. Like, we can't make opinion-based, decisions.
I'm gonna get sworn in.
Okay, everybody raise your right
I
hand.
think the applicants have this.
Yes, Sanithia applicant speaks. All right. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay.
Board members, you have before you proposed rezoning application RZ 2025-01, filed as ordinance 2501. An ordinance rezoning approximately 0.87 acres on parcel 8077-00, located adjacent to 10351 Deer Run, owned by Michael Hutchinson and Angie Hutchinson, as described herein, from commercial neighborhood to residential single-family mobile home, as defined and classified under the zoning code, pursuant to the land development regulations as amended, providing a disclaimer that the rezoning granted herein shall not be construed as an example from any other technical. Or that be that? That's the end.
For providing an effective date. I think that cut off in there.
It did get cut off on that thing. You have it?
Effective date.
Providing an effective date. This should be the staff presentation. Mr. Garrett, can you please present the staff analysis of the application for parcel 8077000 and proposed ordinance 2025-01?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Lowell Garrett. I'm a staff member of EDA Consultants, who are consultants to the Town Council for planning purposes. You have in your packet the Planning and Zoning staff report, which I'll be referring to. And I think the chairman has already described the location and the application fully. I would like, with your permission, to combine this response for both parcels. In other words, the staff response would be for both parcels. If that's satisfactory.
So I mean, there is a world where somebody might object to one or the other, right?
You can
They're-
get back up and.
They're adjacent to one another. The only difference is the mobile home on one and the other is vacant. But there is absolutely no impact analysis that makes it any different. So it should,
Okay, do you need to vote on this or just isolate it?
I just want to make sure you're comfortable with that.
Okay.
Okay. I'd also like to enter the staff report into the record, please. So you'll have, it will be considered. What I'd like to do, Mr. Chair and board members, is to basically go down the findings that are required to be considered for a rezoning amendment. The first item is whether the proposed change would be in conformance with the town's comprehensive plan and would have an adverse effect on the town's comprehensive plan. Now, the proposed zoning is consistent with a residential moderate density future land use designation as it has been adopted within the town's comprehensive plan. Now, this supports a proposal of RSF MH1 zoning, which is based on density and permitted uses identified in the future land use element. Now, Comprehensive Plan Policy 112 states that the town shall permit residential uses, including mobile homes. The proposed zoning permits residential uses, including single-family homes and mobile homes, and therefore will implement the intent of this policy. So policy 112 in the code and the comprehensive plan actually includes mobile homes as a residential use. The proposed zoning requires a minimum lot area of 20,000 square feet. And of course, we're talking about a density of two units per acre. So this is far exceeding that requirement. They're closer to, each lot is closer to 1 acre. Rezoning furthers housing diversity goals in the plan and is not expected to negatively impact the overall plan implementation. Now, the future land use element, policy 112, I just referred to, objective 3.3, which is the housing element. The town shall make available the provision of site opportunities for low and moderate income housing and mobile homes in conformance with the future land use element. As far as the existing land use pattern, this is another finding. The surrounding neighborhood is primarily residential with a mix of single-family homes and mobile homes. Multiple mobile homes exist nearby, including 2 immediately east of the subject property, indicating an established pattern of mixed housing types within the same comprehensive plan future land use category. The proposed zoning will allow this mix of single-family and mobile home residential types that is consistent in form, scale, and density with the existing development pattern. The next finding is any possible creation of an isolated district unrelated to adjacent or nearby districts. This change will not create an isolated or incompatible zoning district. While no RSF MH1 zonings exist immediately on immediately adjacent parcels, the proposal does not constitute illegal or arbitrary spot zoning. The RSF MH1 district permits similar mix of residential use types that are presently found in the immediate area, and the rezoning is in harmony with the surrounding residential development. The proposed zoning is supported by the residential moderate density future land use designation addresses a housing need, and is consistent with the existing development patterns in the vicinity. Just like to point out that the CN classification, zoning classification that is currently enforced on these two parcels, is a classification that is established based on need. Commercial neighborhood zoning allows commercial to be located pretty much where it's needed without going through a comprehensive plan amendment. So this site is more appropriate for residential because it is in residential feature land use as moderate density. The population density pattern and possible increase or overtaxing of the land on public facilities such as schools, utilities, streets, etc. The rezoning will not increase the permitted residential density. Obviously, there's already one unit there now. No increase in density is proposed. The two parcels will remain limited to one single residential unit each and will not result in overtaxing any of the utilities, the schools, streets, or other public services. The next finding is whether existing district boundaries are logically drawn in relation to existing conditions on the property proposed for change. Now, the current zoning boundaries are not illogical currently. However, the request responds to evolving housing needs and allows an otherwise compatible housing type in a location already designated for residential moderate density development in the comprehensive plan. Although the RSF MH1 district is not present on adjacent properties, the use remains residential in nature and logically consistent with the surrounding development in terms of density, form, and use. The next finding is whether changed or changing conditions make the passage of the proposed amendment necessary. The comprehensive plan supports a range of housing types, including mobile homes, to serve all income levels and ages. Overall economic and demographic trends suggest an increasing demand for affordable and flexible housing alternatives. This rezoning reflects the broader housing trends and provides means to accommodate evolving community housing needs. The next finding is whether or not the proposed change will adversely influence living conditions in the neighborhood. The use of the property will remain residential in nature as it is now. Mobile homes on individual lots are already present in the vicinity, and the proposed rezoning is not expected to have a negative effect on the neighborhood living conditions. The next finding is whether the proposed change will create or excessively increase traffic congestion or otherwise affect public safety. Staff finds that no increased traffic or public safety impacts are anticipated. The rezoning will not increase the permitted residential density, which is established in the comprehensive plan. The two parcels will remain limited to one single residential unit each, and as such, will not generate any additional traffic as compared to the existing zoning district, which is commercial neighborhood. Whether or not the proposed change will create a drainage problem. The rezoning should not result in an increase of impervious area and associated stormwater runoff. In addition, no known drainage pattern problems exist, and none are anticipated as a result of the rezoning. The next finding is whether the proposed change will seriously reduce light and air to adjacent areas. The change in zoning will not reduce light or air access to the adjacent properties. The RSF MH1 zoning district maintains the existing residential character of the area and is actually more compatible than the existing commercial zoning, commercial neighborhood zoning classification. The next finding is whether the proposed change will adversely affect property values in the adjacent area. there's no negative effect on the adjacent property values that is expected. Mobile homes are already established in the area and coexist with site-built homes without noted decline in property conditions. Item number 12, finding whether the proposed change will be a deterrent to the improvement or development of adjacent property in accord with the existing regulations. The proposed zoning will not deter or the continued development or improvement of the surrounding properties. The property will allow residential uses which are compatible with the land use pattern of the area. The next finding is whether the proposed change will constitute a grant of special privilege to an individual owner as contrasted with the public welfare. The response is the rezoning is not a grant of special privilege. It aligns with the comprehensive plan, future land use designation on the property, and will not affect the public welfare. The next finding is whether or not there are substantial reasons why the property cannot be used in accord with the existing zoning. The current commercial neighborhood is inconsistent with the underlying residential moderate density future land use designation. The development activity on the property is not permitted within these conflicting land use and zoning designations. The rezoning will create compatible land use and zoning district designations for the two parcels. There's just two more. The next is whether the change suggested is out of scale with the need of the neighborhood or town. The change is modest in scope and is not out of scale with the needs of the town. It allows a permitted use, one residential unit on two established residential parcels each in an area that already includes similar housing types and is designated for residential development in the comprehensive plan. And then finally, whether it is impossible to find other adequate sites in the town for the proposed uses in districts already permitting such use. Now, while there's other RSF MH1 parcels may exist elsewhere in the town, this parcel is suitable due to the location, infrastructure, and compatibility with the surrounding development, requiring the relocation to another property would place an unnecessary burden on the applicant without a clear public benefit. And that concludes the staff review of the required findings.
Do any of the board members have questions for Mr. Garrett? Cheryl?
Looking at number 5,
Mhm.
did they have to change out of the zoning area in order to put a mobile home in on the other lot? Or can they put another home in the other lot without going through all this?
No, they have to go through the rezoning. Right now, the property is zoned commercial neighborhood. So they have to change that zoning district to RSF MH1.
Even though the home, they correctly.
The one that's there is there.
Does it have to be changed?
No, well, yes, in the sense that it's there, but for it to be conforming to the regulation, it needs to be changed. And I'll tell you why, because if it wasn't changed, there may be a dispute later relative to any expansion or change of the structure on the site. So it should be consistent, even though it's already there, with the zoning district.
That's what it says to me. Sorry.
Okay?
Do we have any other questions from the board?
I have none.
I have a question. Would they be able to put any house there, or are they forbidden from putting residential?
Any house, any residential unit. This is a mixed-use category. So they can put conventional, they can put modular, or they can put mobile homes.
No, I mean in the current designation.
In the current designation, no. The current designation does not allow residential use.
All right, thank you. We will now hear the applicant.
I'd like to have one question, I need to clarify. might clarify something. Has that been a non-conforming use? If had a storm or something come by and destroyed it, it cannot be replaced, until all this was done anyhow, right?
Well, that's a possibility, but there is a provision in the supplementary regulations that allows for a switch out of a mobile home, so to speak, within a specific time period. But, you know, it's one of those things where if you're doing additions or anything of that nature, it becomes problematic.
On our form, number 17 says the availability of alternate sites. I mean, you said they're available, so do we answer yes or no?
Well, I mean, obviously they're available, but I think it would be an undue burden in this particular case to have him relocate his mobile home on another site.
Okay, so good enough.
Yeah, no.
Just wanna make sure.
But it is, but there are other locations, obviously.
Are there any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
We will now hear the applicant's presentation if they desire to do so.
This is a summary, if anybody would like to talk a little bit.
Council, you have an incredibly tough job, and I am sorry you inherited the mess. But good evening, Council and Planning Committee. Thank you for your time and service to the town of White Springs. My name is Annetta Hutchinson, and this is my husband, Michael Hutchinson, and we're here today to respectfully request the rezoning of two parcels that we own, 10351 Deer Run and the adjacent vacant lot parcel number 8077000. These parcels are unique and deserving rezoning consideration. They are currently zoned commercial neighborhood, but as you will see, this designation does not reflect the land's actual use, character, or physical access. Our goal is simple: to rezone these parcels to single-family residential mobile home use. One lot already has a well-maintained mobile home, and the other is a mostly cleared, graded, and prepped parcel we hope to place a similar home on. We have carefully addressed each of the 16 factors in Article 16 of the Land Development Regulations. What follows is a detailed breakdown, and you have a summary for reference. Factor 1, plan consistency. Rezoning these two parcels to single-family residential mobile home use is consistent with the town's overall goals of controlled growth, increased housing options, and preserving neighborhood character. While the zoning map may currently list the area as commercial neighborhood, the physical conditions of the property, including lack of street access, make commercial development impractical. And you have a map for your reference in your, here. The surrounding area.
Put it all in their packet.
The surrounding area is primarily residential. Our properties are nestled among these homes and have always functioned as part of a quiet residential street. Allowing additional mobile homes here aligns better with the way the land is actually used and maintained. In the short term, our goal is to support White Springs' tourism initiative by offering a short-term rental. In the long term, this home would house one of my elderly parents, both disabled and in need of accessible, independent living close to family care. There are no other residential lots in town that meet their needs while keeping them nearby. Rezoning these lots corrects a mapping issue and allows for modest, thoughtful development that fits both the land and the community, adding tax base, increasing housing supply, and preserving the neighborhood character. Factor 2, existing land use pattern. Both parcels are located in an area that has always functioned as a residential neighborhood. The surrounding homes on Collins Street and Robert Streets were all built between the 1960s and 1970s, and most are site-built single-family homes. There is also at least one mobile home on Collins Street built and placed in 1965. No neighboring properties are used for commercial purposes. The only exception in the area is City Hall, located on Bridge Street. The nearest business is a gas station on Highway 41, which lies beyond the creek that borders our parcels and on the other side of the church, creating a natural separation from any commercial corridor. The property on 10351 Deer Run has a mobile home that was placed in 1996 2 years before the current zoning map was created. It appears that this was disregarded and a straight line was simply drawn, not considering the surrounding area, the creek, or the lack of commercial access to the properties. 10351 Deer Run, in addition to the home, includes a 2-car garage, a carport, a privacy fence, and landscaping. It is not visible from Collins Street or Highway 41, and there are no signs or features that would make it appear commercial. The adjacent lot has been improved with grading and grass and is mowed and maintained as a residential yard. These lots fit the character of the neighborhood, quiet, wooded, and residential. Rezoning them to single-family residential mobile home use would not change the look or feel of the area. It would simply bring the zoning in line with how the land is already being used and maintained. The current zoning is out of sync with the reality on the ground. Factor 3, isolated district. Rezoning these 2 parcels would not create an isolated or incompatible zoning district, it would correct one. Both lots are side by side under our ownership and surrounded by residentially zoned properties on Collins and Roberts Streets. Ours are the only parcels in the area zoned commercial neighborhood, which appears to be the result of a mapping error during the 1998 update. These lots are accessible only by a 1-lane dirt easement and bordered by a creek with no direct connection to any main road. Commercial development isn't just unsuitable here, it's almost physically impossible. One other residential home in the commercial zone exists nearby, but unlike ours, it has proper road access to Jefferson Street. This situation is uniquely constrained. The lack of access, natural barriers, and surrounding residential use make our request very specific and unlikely to set a precedent. We're not establishing a new pattern, we're fixing an anomaly. Rezoning would bring these parcels into alignment with the rest of the neighborhood and reflect how the land has always been used, quietly and residentially. Factor 4, public facilities and services. Approving this rezoning would not place any burden on the town's services or infrastructure. Both parcels are either connected to city water or will be connected to city water. Further, we've confirmed with the county health department and the city that septic is allowed on the vacant lot, and we've had a perk test approved for a septic system. Electricity, trash pickup, and other basic utilities are already established at 10351 Deer Run and can easily be extended to the adjacent lot. The proposed use of the second lot for short-term guests or eventually one elderly family member would not add strain to school enrollment or create any spike in service demands. In short, this is a low-density, low-impact use that the town's infrastructure is already more than capable of supporting. Factor 5, district boundaries. The current zoning boundary in this area doesn't follow any natural features or land use patterns. It looks like it was drawn in 1998 using a straight line behind the homes that face Collins Street without really considering the parcels it affected. In our case, it resulted in our property, 10351 Deer Run, and the adjacent lot being zoned commercial neighborhood, even though they've always been residential in function and appearance. There are no real roads leading to these 2 parcels, and there's no practical access to Highway 41 because of the creek. That makes the idea of future commercial development here extremely unlikely. The current zoning doesn't split any parcels, but it does create a mismatch between how the land is zoned and how it is used. This suggests it was more of a mapping shortcut to make a perfect triangle on a map rather than a thoughtful planning decision. Factor 6, changed or changing conditions. One of the main reasons we're requesting this rezoning is because we rely directly on the town's own statement in 2022 that this property was zoned for single-family residential use. The mortgage company's appraiser called the town clerk at the time, not anybody that's in this room, but we know, at that time and was told that the zoning was residential. That confirmation was documented in the appraisal, which I've included as an exhibit in your packet. Without that statement, we would not have qualified for a mortgage or insurance, and honestly, we would not have bought the property at all. And here's where I'm going to go off the script a little bit and request that we only have to pay one of those fees because we were told that it was residential to begin with. Since then, we've made significant improvements to the home under the belief that it was residentially zoned. A new roof, new tie-downs, new skirting, porch reconstruction, appliances, replaced the plumbing, new drain field, new AC, and interior renovations. We've made a substantial financial investment into the property to make it a safe and livable home with the understanding that this was a residential property. On top of that, there is now a new town council that is actively discussing zoning reform. They've recognized that some of the boundaries on the zoning map don't reflect the way these properties are actually used. We see this rezoning not as a new use, but as an opportunity to correct a mapping error based on our good faith reliance on the town's own guidance. Factor 7, living conditions. Rezoning these 2 parcels to residential would have a positive impact on living conditions in our neighborhood. The area is already quiet and residential in nature, and our home at 10351 Deer Run is well maintained and landscaped. In fact, we've made several improvements that have enhanced the safety and appearance and value of the property, and we plan to do the same on the second lot. And you can see Exhibit 3 for the photos of both our property and the lot. There are a couple of nearby homes on Collins Street that are not being maintained, but our property stands in contrast with fresh landscaping, frequent mowing, and peaceful presence. Adding one more brand new, well-kept home will only add to the stability and visual quality of the neighborhood. We've had no issues with our neighbors, and we're committed to keeping the peace. If the town or neighbors had concerns about landscaping, lighting, or screening, we'd be happy to work with them on solutions to make sure everything stays in line with the residential character of the area. This rezoning would support, not disrupt, the living conditions in our part of White Springs. Factor 8, traffic and public safety. Rezoning these 2 parcels to residential would help preserve traffic safety and maintain the peaceful use of the narrow single-lane dirt easement that serves only a few residents. This easement provides the sole access to both properties and is currently used by our household, one nearby neighbor, and the occasional delivery vehicle. We maintain this road ourselves and have considered improving it with road base or millings if the rezoning is approved. Visibility along the easement is clear, and there have been no reported accidents or emergency access issues. If a second home is allowed, it would result in only minimal additional traffic, typically 1 guest vehicle at a time or an occasional caregiver. Neither of my elderly parents, who the second home is intended for, drive, so this won't create ongoing congestion. However, keeping commercial neighborhood zoning in place poses a very real risk. The easement is not built for 2-way traffic, let alone for customer vehicles, supply trucks, or vendor deliveries that a business might require. Forcing commercial use here would create safety concerns for the families who live along the road and would place an unreasonable burden on infrastructure never designed to support that kind of traffic. And you can see the photos of the road from both directions in Exhibit 4. Approving this rezoning ensures the access easement continues to be used safely and responsibly, as it has been for decades, while protecting neighbors from incompatible and potentially hazardous commercial development. Factor 9, drainage concerns. There are no drainage problems on our property or in the surrounding area. Both parcels sit on naturally high ground that drains efficiently into the creek behind us. Even during heavy rain, water flows away from the home quickly and naturally. We've done some light grading on the vacant lot to improve drainage even further, and the area has never experienced pooling, runoff issues, or flooding. The home we propose to place would also be located on high ground, well above the water level of the creek. We haven't needed to install any special drainage systems on our current home, and it has remained dry and stable through all seasons and recent hurricanes. To further support this, we've included a copy of the county's flood map as Exhibit 5, showing that where the home will be located is not in a flood zone. In short, rezoning these lots for residential use will not create any drainage problems, and the site is better suited for housing than many other parts of town due to its elevation and natural runoff. Factor 10, light and air impact. Rezoning these 2 parcels for residential use will not reduce light or air for any nearby properties. There's generous space between our lots and the neighboring homes, and the home we're proposing to place would be a single-story mobile home, just like our current one. It will sit on a block foundation slightly above ground level, not on any raised area, and won't block sunlight or airflow in any direction. The area is open and wooded with many tall trees that already provide natural shade and privacy between homes. We plan to leave as many of those trees as possible, which means the landscape will remain open, breezy, and in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. This proposed use will not change the natural environment around the property and will not cast shadows, block views, or interfere with ventilation for us or our neighbors. Factor 11, adjacent property values. Rezoning these two parcels for residential mobile home use would not reduce property values in the area. In fact, it's more likely to protect or increase them. Our home at 10351 Deer Run is the newest and most well-maintained property on the block. We've invested in major upgrades, and the difference shows. While I'm not aware of any recent sales on our street, online estimates like Zillow suggest that our property value has gone up since we made improvements. Adding one more well-kept landscape mobile home on the adjacent lot would only enhance that. It would help stabilize this part of town by replacing a vacant, unused parcel with a move-in ready home that's maintained with the same level of care as our current one. A business, on the other hand, could do far more hurt to hurt property values, especially if it generated extra traffic or didn't match the surrounding residential setting. We believe that continuing to improve and invest in this neighborhood through careful residential use is the best way to preserve and grow home values in White Springs. Factor 12, deterrent to adjacent development. Rezoning these parcels to residential would actually encourage improvement and investment, not discourage it. Since we moved in and started making upgrades to our property, at least one of our neighbors has followed suit by adding a new fence, painting their home, and starting to clean up their lot. That kind of momentum matters in a small town like ours. Unfortunately, the overall area still feels neglected, and zoning as it stands today only adds to that. The current commercial neighborhood designation has made it impossible for us to develop the second lot, and as long as it stays that way, it will remain a vacant patch of grass with no purpose. That doesn't help the neighborhood feel complete or well cared for. On the other hand, placing a second home there would give the area a finished look and continue the pattern of residential care and stability. It would also show that with the right zoning in place, private property owners like us are ready and willing to invest in White Springs. This rezoning would signal progress, not stagnation. Factor 13, grant of special privilege. This rezoning request is not about getting special treatment. It's about correcting a zoning designation that doesn't match how the property has ever been used. We're not asking for an exception, variances, or any unique privileges. We're simply asking that these two parcels be rezoned to match the residential character of the surrounding neighborhood and the way the property has been maintained and occupied for years. If anyone else owned these lots, with a narrow dirt easement and an existing mobile home and no practical access for commercial use, they would be in the exact same position and making the exact same request. And I would absolutely support others in town who find themselves in that similar situation doing the same. This isn't just about helping our family, it's about helping the town. Rezoning would bring this part of the zoning map in line with how the land is actually used, support the town's goals of increasing tourism through short-term rentals, and generate more tax and utility revenue without adding any burden to services or infrastructure. This is not a special favor, it's a sensible fix. Factor 14, viability of current zoning. Under the current commercial neighborhood zoning, these parcels are essentially unusable. There is no realistic way to operate a business on this land. The only access is a one-lane dirt easement shared by a few homes, and there's no direct connection to Highway 41 due to a creek behind the properties. That makes it inaccessible for commercial traffic and completely unsuitable for any business use allowed under the town's commercial neighborhood zoning rules. We've looked into what's permitted in a commercial neighborhood zone, and none of the allowable uses make sense in this location. You can't run a storefront, host customers, or bring in deliveries safely on a dirt path behind residential homes. And we haven't spoken to a single person who thinks otherwise. This zoning has made the vacant lot and our home impossible to develop, lease, or sell. Should a disaster or fire destroy our home, it's unlikely we would be able to rebuild in the time frame required to remain grandfathered in. We also cannot sell the home without rezoning. These properties are a financial dead end, not just for us, but for the town as well, since it can't produce tax revenue or serve any practical purpose as long as it's zoned this way. Rezoning to residential mobile home use would make the property usable, contribute to the tax base, and allow a safe, stable use that fits the neighborhood. As it stands now, the current zoning makes no sense on paper or in practice. Factor 15, scale with the neighborhood needs. This rezoning request is modest and entirely in scale with the needs of both the neighborhood and the town of White Springs. We're not proposing a subdivision, business complex, or anything that would change the feel of the area, just one additional home on an already cleared, maintained lot next to our existing residence. The neighborhood isn't overcrowded or underbuilt, and adding one home won't change that. We're simply trying to improve a piece of unused land that's otherwise been sitting vacant due to outdated zoning. This is a small, reasonable request that helps meet real needs for housing, for tourism support, and for family care, while respecting the character of and scale of the surrounding area. Factor 16, adequacy of other sites. There are no other sites in White Springs that would reasonably allow us to do what we're proposing here. We've looked, and there simply aren't any affordable properties for sale in town that offer the same potential for a mobile home, access to city water, privacy, and the proximity to our current residents. Additionally, White Springs doesn't have many available lots suitable for mobile homes, which are often more attainable for families like ours. We're not asking the town to make an exception. We're asking to be allowed to use land we already own in a way that fits the real conditions on the ground and the needs of our family and our community. This is the only place that works, and rezoning is the only path forward. In closing, we respectfully ask that you approve these rezoning requests. We are not seeking special treatment, only a fair and reasonable adjustment that reflects how the land is used, how the neighborhood functions, and what the town of White Springs really needs. This modest rezoning request supports housing, tourism, neighborhood stability, and corrects a zoning error we relied on in good faith. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and for considering this request.
Okay, may I ask a question?
No, you'll have to participate. Did you fill out a form?
I didn't expect that there would be a situation where I would have a question.
Can you fill it out? You
Yeah.
fill one out now and ask.
Okay.
Would you like to enter this into the,
Yes,
as an exhibit?
yes.
Does he need to swear?
This handout is being entered as an exhibit for the record. Do any of the board members have questions for the applicants?
Of all my years of my life I've been here, I always thought there was a dead end and nobody could live
Well,
out
it is a
there.
dead end. It goes right to the creek.
I didn't even know it was a creek back there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Is that the one that's hard to get by for that church thing?
Yeah, we're the church, so it's the church here, then the creek, and then us.
yeah, I know it was
Yeah.
two of us back there. They on the other side where the church at.
Mhm.
May I ask a question now?
Sure.
So,
No,
Sorry.
we
It
have
was
to
my,
finish. It's a very strict process. I'm sorry. Okay, are there any more questions from the board members?
I don't have any.
Not at this moment, no.
Okay, the next step in this quasi-judicial hearing is the opportunity for public comment. The opportunity to cross-examine any witness will be provided to those who are legally deemed to be interested parties with standing. This is limited to those who either are making a procedural challenge or a substantive challenge, who can prove a special injury differing in kind rather than degree from the general community. So, we're going to read through the list. If you don't want to comment on either RZ202501 or RZ202502, just raise your hand and I'll read them. You can,
yeah. I would like to, yeah. Do I stand or can I do it right here?
Are we getting questioned or are you getting
I would like
questioned?
to ask them a question.
did you say it?
This would technically be a crossing. How do I know if he's qualified?
You can swear him in.
Oh, you got swear.
Oh, you haven't sworn.
You haven't been sworn in?
No, I am not.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give is true, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
So please make sure to state your name and spell it, your street address, before you ask for comment.
Yeah, my name is George Tudor, and my last name is spelled Tuider. My street address is 16511 Jewett Street, that's here in White Springs. My question is it your initial intention to operate an Airbnb out of this location?
Initially, yes, because my parents have each other to take care of each other. My dad is blind and deaf, and my mom has multiple sclerosis, so he lifts her. She's his eyes and ears. So once one of them passes, which probably won't be very much longer, then I have to
But
take
it could be,
one.
there's no time limit.
So initially, it will be a
Yeah.
business, to run a
Yes.
business out of that operation,
Mhm.
that location. Where I live right now, I had 2 Airbnbs next door to me. I had one immediately to the east and one immediately to the north. And the amount of traffic that comes and goes, and the fact that they're on vacation, they're not in the same kind of rhythm that people who live and work normal lives. They're on vacation, they party, they stay up at night, they are unloading, and packing. My dogs get used to the normal people now, that are permanent people who reside there. But for people who, if your neighbors have dogs, that each time a new person arrives, the kind of disturbance that would cause is impactful,
And we have plans to put up a fence for that reason.
right? But the traffic that will increase, and sometimes it's many cars, so it's not like it's just a single one will come there. You could have a large group of people that come to the Airbnb, and suddenly
You also could have a bunch of nice people,
you could.
And we're right there
and
all
we're
the
right there
time.
across the street.
I mean,
I understand
On
that.
the
You're giving me an example of what?
and it's
Yeah,
not gonna
any
be a
scenario.
big, and it's not gonna house 10 people. It's only gonna house
But
max
you would be
4.
amazed at what shows up the Airbnbs. My sister has even run one and had an enormous group come in and cause thousands of dollars of damage. So for the people who live next door to that, this is not a residence that becomes another residence. This is a business next to your house with people coming and going all the time. It really is impactful. I've lived next to 2 of them for a period of time. Consider that, please. Thank you.
All right, Judith McClure, would you like to speak
Can I
on,
just stand here?
well, this is only for RZ 22501 and 20, so for them.
It's only for what?
It's only for the Hutchinsons right now. Would you like to
Yes.
speak? Okay.
I would just like to say that.
Please state your name, spell it.
Judith McClure,
Your address, please.
1630 Smith Street. Where's that page? I totally support them being able to rezone this, and I greatly admire them for going through the proper channels. They didn't just go and put the mobile home up, clear the land, and put it on. They went through all of the proper channels to do this, and I greatly admire them for that.
We'll have a chance later to talk, Cheryl. We can't talk. Thomas Brazil, would you like to make a comment or?
Yeah, Thomas Brazil, property owner, 16504 Collins Street. The lot they're talking about, the vacant lot, abuts to my property. They joined. I've stayed in many Airbnbs. What they're talking about doing temporarily in this Airbnb, they're gonna be owner occupants, basically. They're across the street. They're not gonna rent the games of high school kids who are in spring break. It's gonna be a very confined thing. Street access to this property, and I'm very familiar with it, is basically a half a lane wide dirt track that goes back in there. If you didn't know that house was back there, you would not see it, you would not know it's there. An additional home back there, I don't think it's gonna make any difference at all, other than improving the quality of the neighborhood, especially when you have to take care of the older parents. But it's a very quiet neighborhood. That property is very secluded, and I have no objection to them doing this.
So,
It's Vivian Williamson. No. Scott Gay.
No comments.
Paul Brennan.
Brennan Stahl,
Brennan Stahl. Yeah.
no comment about this one coming up in this future on the last one.
Kathleen Brennan. Oh, this is Kathleen. Brewer. Brewer.
Yeah. I don't think so. She's only one.
Okay, so you're only here for the last one. That is all comments that I have. Let's see what's on my list. Should we let the board ask questions further? Okay, so actually it's applicants, do you have any rebuttal evidence to submit, or would you like to make a closing statement?
I think we've
I think
pretty much
we,
laid it out.
yeah.
She said it
I think
all.
we took enough of people's time here.
Mhm.
Do board members have any additional questions for the applicant?
I have one. How long y'all been here?
We've been here since 2021.
No problem.
Cheryl?
I just wanted to address George's comment in that knowing that you're gonna be right there at the property, I don't think that they'll have the problems that you had with your other neighbors. I'm right next door to the bed and breakfast, and Judith keeps a tight rein on what goes on there. And I haven't had any problems or concerns with, and she has a lot of guests. But they're really, unless they take their dog out walking down the street, he barks, but he barks at everybody that walks down the street. So I don't think the concern that you have would be, the same that would be affecting this family.
And I don't think you have an invalid point, but I do feel like being right across from it
We
will
can
make
keep
all
a
the
rein
difference in the
on,
world.
you know,
That's
Like, I'm not letting somebody run.
have a party or anything like that, no.
I understand that.
No.
The owner of the other ones lived in Tennessee, Columbia, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And so, no,
Yeah,
I get that.
yeah, I get it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mr. Garrett, do you have any rebuttal evidence to submit, or would you like to make a closing statement?
Oh, I think I can make a presentation.
Do the board members have any additional questions for Mr. Garrett?
No.
We have concluded the public portion of the hearing for rezoning applications RZ 2025-01 and RZ 2025-02 and ordinance 2501 and ordinance 2502. Board members, you have heard the evidence presented at this hearing along with the findings of staff. Is there a motion for consideration?
I make a motion, considering.
So,
What is your motion?
You approve or deny? Yes, you make a motion to approve. Is there a second to the motion to approve?
second.
It has been motioned and seconded that we approve resolutions, ordinances 2501 and ordinance 2502. Is there any discussion?
None?
No.
I have none. All right. It has been motioned and seconded. Let's bring it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Ayes have it, 4-0. And you may be excused.
So this is just to consider it, and then we come back in 2 weeks and do this again, correct? Okay.
This is the first reading. So
Okay.
Board members, we have your recommendation forms.
When somebody is.
It was filled out.
Yes.
With the sign of that.
Yes.
Here's a fourth one.
This part of me, go ahead and do it. And then.
I'll probably just put both.
No, they did. But we didn't do the reading of the second one.
Okay.
Do we need to sign this or just?
Sign it, please. So you see if we do it, you and then this is how it happened at Ball. So it's like, you ask the public comment again, and then.
We're just getting clarification. We're gonna make sure that we read the second application ordinance so that it has been properly read for its first reading. And then we'll have Mr. Garrett confirm that the information that he's provided applies to that application. The applicants can do the same, see if there's any additional public comment, and then do a motion, just to make sure we've got it all covered. Does that sound good?
Yeah, has everybody handed in their form?
Well, not yet, yeah.
Sure. Would you have your phone?
Yeah. You're so good.
Yeah, sorry about that. Very boring.
Nikki, is this you?
Mm-hmm. Don't laugh at my signature, please.
You want to see Robert's?
Mine look a little better. Not much.
It's on there. Completely.
Oh, shoot. Sign in there is fine.
I might did too, but okay. We do have a while. I didn't even look on the back of it. Robert, pass that up.
For additional one? Yeah.
No, I mean for me to sign it in the correct spot. Cause I'm in the wrong place. I didn't even look on the back of that one.
For, you want to fill it out for me? And we'll get to the last one. You want to do that?
Do we need to vote on O2 then, separately?
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah.
Board members, you have before you proposed rezoning application RZ 2025-02, filed as ordinance 2502. An ordinance rezoning approximately 1.37 acres on parcel 8076-000, located at 10351 Deer Run, owned by Michael Hutchinson and Anjeet Hutchinson, as described herein, from commercial neighborhood, CN, to residential mixed single-family mobile home, RSF/MH-1, as defined and classified under the zoning code pursuant to the land development regulations as amended, providing a disclaimer that the rezoning granted herein shall not be construed as an exemption from any other applicable laws providing an effective date. Mr. Garrett, did you plan on presenting the same information you presented the first?
I'd like to enter the staff report in the record that it supports that from the ordinance.
Mr. Garrett has entered into record his staff report for ordinance 2025-02. Do any of the board members have questions for Mr. Garrett?
No.
No? We will now hear the applicant's presentation if they desire to do so. Would you like to enter in your handout also for this?
Maybe the same one.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
Here, enter their handout for the record. Do any board members have questions for the applicant?
No. I didn't even know. I did both of them on one.
Me too. The next step in this quasi-judicial hearing is the opportunity for public comment. The opportunity to cross-examine any witness will be provided to those who are legally deemed to be interested parties with standing. This is limited to those who either are making a procedural challenge or a substantive challenge who can prove a special injury differing in kind rather than degree from the general community. Does anybody want to give a comment on this?
I think the statement here.
Not if, you can, or you can, the statement and evidence that you entered for the prior application will be entered on for this one.
We can use the conclusion as a time to.
So I should have spoken a minute ago.
Okay.
If he wants to, he can. If he feels there's something different, he wants us to know.
I'll bring it up in a second.
Are there any comments? Applicant, do you have any rebuttal evidence to submit, or would you like to make a closing statement?
Yes. She addressed this just now in her presentation, and it was the fact that we're getting charged for 2 separate fees for this. However, the evidence that we presented showed that the zoning, according to our appraiser at the time, was told that that was already zoned residential. So I kind of feel like I'm getting penalized for something that the appraiser was told, submitted it in this form, submitted it to our mortgage company. Everybody thinks we're on the same page and it's residential. And now we're being forced to pay another $1,000 to call it this again. So I would just like to know if that is something that could be considered, with our fees. If you guys would like some time to discuss it or think about it. I don't need to know now. I just kind of feel like I'm getting whacked for something that, that I have to unfairly come into this hearing for on the particular property that has the existing normal.
Would this be considered good faith?
So that would be outside of the scope of this process.
Okay.
This is specifically basically a full hearing for these requests that are presented to us.
All right, fair
To
enough.
be even more honest, I don't know what sort of redress we
I'm just bringing it out into the atmosphere, and I'll bring it up again. I'll figure out the right time to bring it up. But I'm just putting it out there that I would like to have that discussion, and I'll figure out when to have the discussion.
Okay. Noted. All right. Thank you. Do board members have additional questions for the applicant?
None.
Mr. Garrett, do you have any rebuttal evidence to submit, or would you like to make a closing statement?
No.
Do board members have any additional questions for Mr. Garrett?
No.
We have concluded the public portion of the hearing for rezoning application RZ 2025-02 and ordinance 2502. Board members, you have heard the evidence presented at this hearing along with the findings of staff. Is there a motion for consideration?
Make a motion to approve.
There's been motion that we approve ordinance 2502. Is there a second?
Second motion.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
No.
No.
Okay, let's take it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The ayes have it, 4-0. We want to fill out All right, we will be taking a 5-minute recess. The time is 8:18. Calling to order is 8:25. Oh, Nikki's not here. Nikki!
I'm coming, I told you I was gonna take you 3 minutes or what? I'm ready.
All right, Lee, we're ready to get on the road. Board members, you have before you proposed rezoning application RZ 2025-03, filed as ordinance 2503. An ordinance rezoning approximately 0.255 acres on parcel 8259-000, located on First Street near the intersection with Mill Street, owned by Cynthia Williams as described herein, from residential single-family RSF to residential mixed single-family mobile home RSF/MH-2, as defined and classified under the zoning code, pursuant to the land development regulations as amended providing a disclaimer that the rezoning granted herein shall not be construed as an exemption from any other applicable laws, providing an effective date. Mr. Garrett, can you please present the staff analysis of the application for parcel 8259-000 and proposed ordinance number 2025-03?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Lowell Garrett, EDA Consultants Incorporated, and consultant to the town for planning services. You entered the property information. I would just add that the existing use in the property, well, there's a mobile home on the property. It's considered to be a vacant lot, though. Again, the size is a quarter acre, which would meet with the RSFMH classification. Surrounding land use is predominantly residential, single-family, conventional. Surrounding land uses on the north and west is vacant property. On the south, single-family, conventional. On the east, across the street is a church and 2 mobile homes. I'd like to put into the record this staff report and also the pictures on the next page showing the adjacent properties. Again, for the board's purposes, I'd like to go through the findings, and I will try to be a little quicker than I was last time, for brevity's sake. The first finding is whether the proposed change would be in conformance with the town's comprehensive plan and would have an adverse effect on the town's comprehensive plan. As I said before, there's a policy in the future land use element that includes mobile homes into the residential category. And so it is consistent with policy 112 of the comprehensive plan. Also in the housing element of the comprehensive plan, objective 3.3 states the town shall make available the provision for site opportunities for low moderate income housing and mobile homes in conformance with the future land use element. Now that answers the consistency with the comprehensive plan. As far as the next finding would be the existing land use pattern, and the surrounding property is primarily residential with a mix of single-family homes, mobile homes. Although the RSF zoning dominates and several mobile homes exist nearby, including 2 located on the block immediately east of the subject property, indicating an established pattern of mixed housing types within the same comprehensive plan future land use category. The proposed zoning would allow a mix of single-family and mobile home residential use types that is consistent in form, scale, and density with the existing development pattern. The next finding is the possible creation of an isolated district unrelated to the adjacent nearby districts. This change will not create an isolated incompatible district. While there are no RSFMH2 zoning districts immediately on the adjacent parcels, the proposal does not constitute illegal or arbitrary spot zoning. The RSFMH2 district permits similar residential uses and density as the current zoning that exists, including single-family and mobile home units. The rezoning is in harmony with the surrounding residential development, which includes a mix of residential types. The proposed zoning is supported by the residential moderate density future land designation that I mentioned in the former finding. The population density pattern and possible increase or overtaxing of the load on public facilities. The rezoning would not increase the permitted residential density that's permitted within the comprehensive plan. No increase in density is proposed. The lot will remain limited to 1 single-family residential unit and will not result in overtaxing utilities, schools, streets, and other public services. Finding number 5 is whether existing district boundaries are logically drawn in relation to the existing conditions on the property for the proposed change. Now, again, the current zoning boundaries are not illogical. However, the request responds to evolving housing needs and allows an otherwise compatible housing type in a location already designated for residential moderate density development in the comprehensive plan. Although the RSFMH2 district is not present on adjacent properties, the use remains residential in nature and logically consistent with the surrounding development in terms of density, form, and use. Finding number 6, whether change or changing conditions make the passage of proposed amendment necessary. Now, the comprehensive plan supports a range of housing types, including mobile homes, to serve all income levels and ages. Overall economic and demographic trends suggest an increased demand for affordable and flexible housing alternatives. This rezoning reflects broader housing trends and provides a mean to accommodate evolving community housing needs. Finding number 7, whether the proposed change will adversely influence living conditions in the neighborhood. The use of the property will remain residential in nature. Mobile homes on individual lots are already present in the vicinity, and the proposed rezoning is not expected to have a negative effect on neighborhood living conditions. Finding number 8, whether the proposed change will create or excessively increase traffic congestion or otherwise affect public safety. There's no increased traffic or public safety impacts anticipated for the rezoning. Will not increase the permitted residential density, and the lot is going to remain limited to one single-family residential unit, and therefore will not generate any additional traffic to the existing district. Finding number 9, whether the proposed change will create a drainage problem. The rezoning will not increase the impervious area and associated stormwater runoff. There's no net change between the existing and proposed zoning. In addition, no known drainage problems exist and none are anticipated as a result of the rezoning. Finding number 10, whether the proposed change will seriously reduce light and air to adjacent areas. The change in zoning will not reduce light or air adjacent to adjacent properties. The RSFMH2 zoning district maintains the existing residential character of the area and has similar lot coverage, height, and setback standards to the RSF district. Finding number 11, whether the proposed change will adversely affect property values in the adjacent area. No negative effect on adjacent property values is expected. Excuse me. Mobile homes are already established in the area and coexist with site-built homes. There is not anticipated a noted decline in property conditions. Finding number 12, whether the proposed change will be a deterrent to the improvement or development of adjacent property in accord with existing regulations. The proposed zoning will not deter the continued development or improvement of surrounding properties. The property will continue to allow residential uses and is compatible with the land use pattern in the area. Finding number 13, whether the proposed change will constitute a grant of special privilege to an individual owner as contrasted with public welfare. The rezoning is not a grant of special privilege. It aligns with the comprehensive plan future land use designation on the property and will not affect public welfare. Finding number 14, whether there are substantial reasons why the property cannot be used in accord with existing zoning. While the property could be developed under the current zoning, the applicant seeks to place mobile home, which is reasonable and permitted under the residential moderate density future land use designation that is assigned to the property. The existing zoning appears to restrict this housing type without strong justification, especially given local housing needs and the comprehensive plan language that states that the town shall permit residential uses, including mobile homes. Finding number 15, whether the change is suggested to be out of scale with the needs of the neighborhood or the town. The change is modest in scope and is not out of scale with the needs of the town. It facilitates the placement of one additional mobile home on an established residential lot in an area that already includes similar housing types. And finally, finding number 16, whether it is impossible to find other adequate sites in the town for proposed uses in districts which already permit such use. Now, while other RSF MH2 parcels may exist elsewhere in the town, this parcel is suitable due to its location, infrastructure, and compatibility with the surrounding development. Requiring relocation to another property would place unnecessary burden on the applicant without clear public benefit. I put those findings into the record. Here to answer any questions you might have.
Do any board members have questions for Mr. Garrett?
Having, just for clarification, because I want to make sure I have these 2 points understood. It has no adverse, the property, it does not make the property value go down, correct?
It should not because of the adjacent uses or similar use.
Exactly, and there are mobile homes directly in the immediate vicinity of this property.
Across the street.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Cheryl?
Why do we designate single family versus mobile home in the first place? And why was it originally done that way and now it's not?
Well, it's always been a provision of the land development regulations. The concept is to apply RSFMH as a mixed use, and where it's appropriate to locate that mixed use. So it's a lot like the CN category. CN category is applied where it's needed. And so, but as far as it's always been in effect, the comprehensive plan has always recognized both conventional and mobile homes as an appropriate use within moderate density residential.
Then why differentiate?
What's that?
Why differentiate then? Why not just always do it no matter what?
Because you want to make sure it's appropriate for the neighborhood.
When would it not be appropriate?
It would not be appropriate if you didn't have similar uses within the neighborhood. And if you had sufficient low moderate income housing within the neighborhood. So, affordable housing, I should say, not low moderate income. So with those two features that are addressed in the comprehensive plan, you determine as the planning and zoning board tonight and in the future as the town council, whether or not this is appropriate.
Thank you.
Okay?
Do any other board members have questions for Mr. Garrett? Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Garrett. We will now hear the applicant's presentation if they desire to do so.
My name is Venethia Williams. I live at 16974 Sunrise Drive, White Springs, Florida.
I'm Shay Brown. I reside there temporarily, hopefully.
Dear council member, this letter serves as a formal request to initiate the rezoning process for the property listed above, which is partial 8259-000. I received a home permit and was not aware that there was any issue with the zoning of the land until my third and final request for inspection. This entire process has been very costly. Example, clearing the land. Cost me quite a bit of money and 26 load of dirt to be able to even put the home there. Purchasing and moving the mobile home, water, sewer connection, permits, costs, and labor costs. In the short time that the mobile home has been placed there, we become quite acquainted with the Church of God and the surrounding neighbors. My home does not have a negative visual impact on the neighborhood. The home is an up-to-date 2020 home in excellent condition. Also, there are several surrounding mobile homes in the area within foot of my front door. I believe rezoning my property would more accurately reflect both the existing use and the surrounding neighborhood. Upon completion of the rezoning process, the potential benefit of rezoning would be additional water revenues and increase in tax revenues for the town. We respectfully ask the council member to grant this rezoning request. I'm not gonna go through each one of the 16 questions. I'm just gonna highlight on some of those. The home is gonna be a single family home. It would be my daughter and her 3 kids. When we did the permit, we thought correctly, submitted it, along with the complete package, not just one form. We submitted everything to Hamilton County. I had to go to the courthouse and purchase the home and purchase the information before I could even go to the building department. So everything we thought we did correctly, which I'm still thinking it was correctly done. The zoning of the home or whatever, maybe we misunderstood that, but we did what we thought was correct. I wouldn't put out that kind of money to purchase a home, place a home there, and subject to losing the availability of having a home. Placing my home on that street is going to enhance the street. I will not, and I do not plan to have a SOI home. I do not have one now, and neither do I plan to have that one be a SOI. I plan to upkeep the house and make sure it is maintained well. It will not increase traffic of any sort. It will not reduce the lighting or air. In fact, the mobile home is going to cost me, my taxes on that mobile home is going to be so high right now. Because from my understanding from the tax department is that mobile home taxes are increasing and the value of the mobile home is increasing. So with all that being said, I don't think I have anything else to say because we're just asking the council to grant us this rezoning. You have anything to say? And we would like to thank you in advance for your time and consideration.
Do any of the board members have questions for the applicant?
Not at this time. No,
Okay.
Cheryl?
As far as the zoning goes, you had no clue that you were moving into a single family versus a mobile home?
No, Cheryl, I did not, because we pulled the partial of the homes in that area, and the home said single family, but in the description box, it said mobile homes.
Okay, and what about the fact that the clerk sent in your stuff and she had no authority to do that?
No, the clerk, if you look at that form, the form says town manager or clerk can sign off on it. And in fact, the previous town manager has not signed off on any forms. It has always been Miss Audrey, the town clerk. Ms. Vanessa has never signed off on not one.
So where did you get the residential single-family mobile home designation that you put on your application for the permit? Did Audrey tell you that, or?
We spoke to Audrey, and also we pulled up the information, and that's how we, the description of what the home was going to be. was put on the application.
So when you submitted it to Jasper, it said that you wanted to put a mobile home there?
Yes, ma'am. We gave Jasper the whole entire package. We did not just submit the one form. The whole entire package had to go there. And in fact, they would not do anything with it without having everything in the package.
And where did you pull the information from, you said?
From the Pasha, online Pasha.
So is that the county appraiser's website?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any more questions from the board?
No.
Not at this time.
Thank you. The next step in the quasi-judicial hearing is the opportunity for public comment. The opportunity to cross-examine any witness will be provided to those who are legally deemed to be interested parties with standing. This is limited to those who either are making a procedural challenge or a substantive challenge who can prove a special injury differing in kind rather than degree from the general community. So we will start with Vivian Williamson.
I'm Vivian Williamson. I live at 12108 Third Street, White Springs.
Can you confirm that you were sworn in?
Yes, yes. I want to say I'm the secretary of the White Springs Church of God, where she still have her trailer at across the street there. And we don't have no problems with her having that trailer there. To us, it's a uplift according to the SORI we got across the road there too. So we don't have no problems with her, living over there. And so I just wanted to say, my pastor did write y'all a letter. I think y'all got it from the White Springs Church of God. But anyway, there is several trailers on that road. And I couldn't understand why anybody would have a problem with a trailer sitting there, but like I said, we're all for them to have that trailer there. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Scott Gay.
Can I use the stand for a moment?
Mm-hmm.
Scott Gay, 10565 Kendrick Street, White Springs. This application is a microcosm of the circumstances that we have had here for 5 years, lack of accountability and transparency. We've been governed out of the sunshine for 5 years. Well, we should not even be here tonight for this application. I want to address I'll do this first. We shouldn't be here tonight because of the application, because of Resolution 07-3, which you've fixed tonight. I'd like to submit this as evidence. It says, until the following applicable fees or charges have been paid in full, no action of any type or kind shall be taken on a petition, appeal, or application. So I'd like to submit Resolution 07-13 into the record. Secondly, we should not be here tonight because the application that was submitted is not the starting point for what is on the site right now. That process starts with an application for site and development plan approval by the Town of White Springs Planning and Zoning Board off the town website with a revision date of 5/29/20. So I would like to submit this this document as part of the record. This is the initial site plan where this process would have started and everybody would have been informed and the applicant would have been informed that this is not the proper zoning. And she would not have gone out and purchased a trailer and moved it there. This would have told her, stop, wait, this property is not zoned for what you're trying to do. So she would not be in the situation that she is in now with having an illegal structure in place with a fraudulent permit. So I'd like to submit this as part of the record too. Nikki, will you pass this around? That's off the town website. It's not there today, but it's been there in the past. I'd like to address the application that was submitted to the town, to process is you submit the application to the town. The town is supposed to review it for sufficiency, and then they forward it to the county. But a mobile home permit application was submitted, the cart before the horse, because the document I just gave you should have been first. But since we're here to talk about this application, I'm going to address the application that was submitted. On the second page, it says signature of land use administrator. That's signed by Audrey Ruiz. There is nothing in the record in Town of White Springs that ever acknowledges Audrey Ruiz or the town clerk to be the land use administrator. So this form does not have the proper authorization. On that form, this is page 2 of the mobile home permit application. There's 6 items on the back. One of them says, show the width and length of the home on the property. That is not shown. It says 15 to 20 feet. The site plan is supposed to show specifically the size of the lot and the structure on it. This does not meet the standard for review by any planning official. There's no survey, so we do not know right now whether the proper side yards, front and rear yards are there or not without a survey. And the structure drawn on it. The application that was submitted, and this is a problem that you're going to find that's happened multiple times. The process with Hamilton County and the municipalities of Hamilton County is this. There's a 4-page form that is submitted. It is completed by the town. The only page that was submitted with this application is labeled page 4, approval for construction within the city limits of White Springs. That's page 4. There's nowhere in her application where there's page 1, 2, and 3 in the 4-page application. In fact, on page 4, it says refer to page 3 and page 1, line 22. So this is an incomplete form. This is the town telling the county this project complies with all our land use and zoning and rules, and we're signing off on this permit for you to do the next level review of the county for the building. So page 4 refers to page 1 and 2, and they're not attached as part of the application. That's a problem, not just in this case, that's a problem with the whole county permitting process. The town administration, I guess the town administration would be the town manager to town clerk, maybe failed in their duty with the applicant because they knew that they should have consulted with the planning official, Mr. Clay Sweeger, who the town has engaged, because they did that on the BBL. I have a letter here dated August 20th, 24 from North Florida Professional Services. On July 30th, 2024, the town of White Springs via Clay Sweeger at EDA Inc. issued a letter with the review comments for the proposed subdivision final plat for Diamond Subdivision. So the town administration was well aware that they should have consulted the town planner, Mr. Sweeger. So Nikki, I'd like to submit this letter as part of the record. In a 119 request, the town attorney, Clay Sweeger with EDA Consultant, a firm used by the town for planning services, informed the town attorney that he was never contacted by the town regarding this matter, and he never received any information. So why would the town administration go the trouble of consulting Clay Sweeger on a development over here, but yet they didn't think to consult Clay Sweeger on a zoning change where they knew what the application said was not consistent with the zoning? And I suspect there will be some further evidence submitted as the 119 request come in. To address the mobile homes in the area, this is not about mobile homes. This is about circumventing the process outlined in our land development code. That is to organize development in a town, and so everyone knows what the rules are. And in 1998, when our land development code was adopted and signed by Mayor McIver, there's a section 4.2.13 that addresses mobile homes. Mobile home hyphen replacement of existing mobile homes. And I won't read the whole thing, just the relevant parts. In those districts which do not permit the erection of new mobile homes but do permit existing mobile homes as a principal use. Such existing mobile homes may be removed and replaced by another mobile home provided that a period of not greater than 6 consecutive months elapses between the removal of one mobile home and the addition of another. Secondly, such mobile homes shall not be replaced and subsequent use shall conform to the regulations for the district in which the use is located. So the Land Development Code was adopted not to perpetuate mobile homes, but to allow them to exist legally as long as they were there. This contemplates not adding new additional mobile homes in this zoning district. So I would like, Nikki, this is in the Land Development Code, section 4.2.13. In my case, it's in a green binder. I don't know if everyone's got a copy of it, but I'd like to submit this, Nikki, as. I'd like to address just a few of the gentleman's analysis report. I would like to say that the property to the south, the photograph that is in your work is the most photogenic piece I've ever seen that house look in probably 5 years. If you look today, it has old cars out front, motors, grease, oil, so this is a very photogenic photograph if you've looked at the package.
I know that.
I'd be scared to move there, Nikki. And there is a code enforcement magistrate order that property is accruing a $250 a day fine, and it's subject to foreclosure.
Can we try to?
Yeah.
do a non-copy?
Yeah, okay. Item number 9, whether the proposed change will create a drainage problem. Well, I never saw a topographic survey submitted as part of the application package, so there's really no way that you can say emphatically that the 26 loads of dirt that were added will not cause a drainage problem to a neighbor. So there's no topographic survey before, and there's not one now. So we really don't know. We can't say for a fact what the drainage issues might be for the neighbors. Number 13, whether the proposed change will constitute a grant of special privilege to an individual owner as contrasted with public welfare. Yes, this is a case of asking forgiveness versus permission. And not anyone else in town could walk in and go put their structure in place and expect to be allowed to stay. This happened because we had an administration at the time when this permit was filed that was all about circumventing the rules and accountability and transparency. That's why all of you are here today.
We're coming up on 10 minutes, so let's bring it in for.
There's not a time limit. Whether it's impossible to find other adequate sites in the town for proposed uses and districts. There's sites all over town with abandoned mobile homes that should have been moved years ago. And this would not have been a burden on the applicant had she followed the process. That's all I have.
You'll get a chance to address, once everybody's done, then we'll come up and address. Brennan Stahl?
Yeah, my name's Paul Brennenstall. I live at 10550 First Street. If you turn to page 57, you can see my house is the one on the bottom of the page there, directly across the street from the mobile home in question. As Mr. Gay was just talking about mobile homes that are in disrepair, I'd like to challenge, I think there's more stick-built homes in this town that are in disrepair than there are mobile homes. Because I walk past them every day on Mill Street and many other streets throughout this town. My opinion about this mobile home that's going in across the street from my house, it's an asset to me. It's an improvement to the neighborhood. When I found out about this meeting, I went on the county website and I looked. 10 minutes ago, I was on the county website and I'm still looking. On this piece of paper here, it shows single family, it shows vacant residence, then it shows single family. Well, I'm not all that great with, when it comes to some of this stuff, but I thought that's what a mobile home is, single-family residence. Down here towards the bottom, it says existing RSF-2. I was on that website for hours. I never found a -2. So I don't see a qualification of -2 for a stick-built home on that land. It doesn't say mobile home, but it doesn't say stick-built home either. I have been paying attention a little bit. This is the first time I've addressed the city council. This city council, the new one, improved one. I want to thank you for your time, okay? I've been approached by residents on both sides of this issue. I've only been here 5 years and 10 months, and I don't think I have the right to make an opinion about what I think and what I feel about White Springs. I moved here because I like here, and I did not want to bring where I came from here, because this is the way I want to live. White Springs is just fine the way it is. You probably drove past my house and seen that little sign that says, "I heart White Springs."
Oh, that's
okay?
you?
That's me.
Okay, that's Ms.
But the sign got worn out, started looking worse than I do, so I had to take it down, and I haven't had time to make a new one.
Okay.
But I'd like to bring up to all parties involved, everybody, that in the recent time, I've watched 3 mobile homes placed and occupied in the town of White Springs. The first one is 16715 Branch Street. Did those people have to go through this same process?
No.
Okay, the second one is 10389 Kendrick Street. Did those people have to go through this process of anything that you're talking about, any of the hoops that you're talking about? Is any of that stuff on file for those 2 mobile homes? And the third, located at 10663 Turner Street. That's 3 mobile homes. In the recent period of time, less than, I'd say 3 years, 4 years, that have all gone up, and I don't believe any of them had to go through what these 3 people, these 3 groups are going through. All 3 people that are here requesting, I support every bit of what they're supporting, what they're asking for. I live directly across the street from that one. It's going to be an improvement to my life and my neighborhood. Regardless, I understand the paperwork has not been perfect. I believe that can be corrected. And I would really like to see that mobile home stay where it's at. Furthermore, if I was out of town in Texas and I was looking for a property and I go to the county website and I see single-family residential, I didn't see that number 2 any place on that website to qualify that it must be a stick-built home. So I believe when this whole thing went through with your land development stuff that went through, it wasn't updated to the county because the county shows that land at 825-9-000 as single family. It's vacant resident, single family. There's no -2 there. So if I was coming in from out of town buying property off the internet, I would have no clue to a requirement for a stick-built or a mobile home. I see vacant, resident, single family, I would think I would comply. And I would purchase the land and I would start the process. Only to find out that there's a -2 that magically appears that wasn't there on the county website. And I would have an issue with that. So I support, and I'd like to see this mobile home get approved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right,
Kathleen Brennan Brewer, please.
Yes, my name is Catherine Brewer. I live in White Springs, Florida.
You can do it, you can do it.
And full of expression.
Can you also confirm that you've sworn in? And your address?
10505 First Street, White Springs, Florida, 32096.
Speak up again, say it again, but speak up a little bit louder, please.
It's Kathleen Brewer, 10505 First Street, White Springs, Florida, 32096.
Well done. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Kathleen Brewer. I live in White Springs, Florida at 10505 First Street, over 40 years. I welcome a new mobile home located at 10573 First Street. Okay, I work in Homes of Merit / Home Builders for 30 and a half years. And I know how the trailers look, they are beautiful, just like her trailer is beautiful. Okay. There are many mobile homes located in White Springs, and that area alone has located in White Springs. There are 3 mobile homes close next to the property on 10573. I can understand the concern with rezoning the home, but only if the home was abandoned. This is not the case.
So we're understanding that you're in support of the mobile home, correct?
Yeah, I'm zoning.
Thank you.
You did well.
Especially for somebody.
George,
that
did
don't
you
talk.
want to
Yeah.
speak?
I don't wish to speak, but I support the change.
You can get a chance to rebut, or if it's not. Judith McClure?
Well, I had to scrap most of what I was going to say, but some of it I'm going to have to say anyway. I disagree with Mr. Garnett. Whenever you start putting trailers.
I'm sorry, can you
Judith
give us
McClure, 16630 Spring Street.
to confirm?
Whenever, sir?
I'm sorry, confirm that you
I
sworn
have
in?
been sworn in, everybody saw that. When the council allows people to just start putting trailers in and then getting rezoned later, I think that's unconscionable. We're also close to the historic district, and I know there are other trailers on that street, but it is zoned no trailers right now, am I correct?
No, it's 5 trailers on that road.
But it is zoned, then why are we here? If
It's currently zoned residential single family, so it is not zoned for mobile use.
That's what I'm saying. So that's why we're here. Clearing the land and putting a mobile home on when you know that is not zoned for that, it does impact the historic district. I read the letter that the private citizens attorney sent to you all, and you didn't seem to even care about it. I read it very thoroughly, and there were some very good points in there. And I'm hoping that you all will take another look at it.
In the world.
I
didn't hear that.
The letter that all of you received from the other attorney from the private citizen, it's Patrick. I believe you all received one, and there were some very good things in there that need to be looked at. You all seemed to kind of boo-hoo it and say it wasn't important, I didn't pay attention to it. I had to scrap most of it, but if you'll check the packet where it was checked that, yes, it was zoned for mobile homes, they knew it was not. And I feel that that's deceptive. And rewarding deceptive behavior, I think is unconscionable. we expect better from this council. We had it from the other, and I just expect more from this council. And the one point I was going to make, and I probably sworn in and said I wouldn't say anything like that. If someone robs a bank and they get caught, do they get to keep the money just because they went through all that work? No, they broke the law. And I will close with that. Obviously, I do not support it. I know there's other trailers there. My main concern is the deception. Thank you.
Thomas Brazil?
Good evening, Council. Thomas Brazil, property owner 16504 Collins Street. I am opposed to the rezoning, not because of the trailer, not because of, I'm opposed to it because of the process. Hamilton County's website, property appraiser on 710. The lot is wooded and vacant. The zoning is SF, single family. In the applicant's own letter, the applicant cleared the land, purchased and moved the mobile home, 28 loads of dirt, water and sewer connections, permitting cost and labor. Did they pay the sewer connection fee? How did we get connected to water and sewer without a certificate of occupancy? I got to disagree with I believe, the planner here. 28 loads of fill, like Scott said, is definitely going to change the hydrology of that lot. That water's got to go somewhere. 28 loads of fill. Do we have a LIDAR report? Do we have a hydrology report? Where's the water going to go? It's going on somebody else's land. It's going to have to. It's not just going to sink into the ground when we have these big rains. That's my opposition to this. This is the property appraiser's website. I'm going to put that into the record. I just think that we've got rules. We've got to follow rules. We don't reward bad behavior. If you don't follow the rules and you don't research it, the old saying, buyer beware. Check, double check. I bought numerous properties in my life. I always check the hydrology, the LIDAR, the zoning, the setbacks, what you can do with the property. That's what you do. That's how you do it. You don't try to slip it in and after you get it all done, oh, I want to change the zoning. That's not the way to do things. That's not proper. Now, I know y'all inherited this mess from the previous council. I get that. But this has been done very recently. Most of this has been done while y'all been on the council. So I just think that it's a problem, and you start changing this zoning, what are you gonna do for the next person who comes up that's in a single family zoned area and they want to put a trailer there? You wind up like we used to have down in the Keys where you have $1 million home, a trailer, and $1 million home. You get into problems when you start making variances like that. If it's zoned that way, leave it that way. Just my opinion.
It's a good opinion.
Did anybody submit a form who didn't get to speak?
I want to get sworn in, but I never got phone.
Alright, fill out a form. Scott, did you have something additional to say?
Well, I want to respond to Paul. He referenced 3 other trailers that have been installed. So the trailer on Kendrick Street, actually, Paul, is also an illegal trailer because someone at Town Hall signed off on a mobile home permit for that to be installed. That also shows it's vacant land. So that trailer is there illegally and all the work that's going on is illegal. Because
What mobile home is that on Kendrick?
It's the one next to JoJo Green.
That trailer's been up over 25 years, Scott. That was Holly Green's trailer first.
It's been there for 25 years, but it hasn't been occupied, it hasn't had power, so it's lost its ability by the 6-month rule. So
No, that's not what they, correct me if I'm wrong, that 6-month rule said if you remove it. It didn't say that property couldn't be vacant. It said if it was removed for the one to be grandfathered in.
I think it also says occupied. But anyway, that thing should have been gone by, anyway, so that's it also for Mr. Garner. I think that's been brought to your attention already, that someone in Town Hall during our transition signed off on a permit application for that mobile home to have HVAC and electric. So that's why I wanted to respond to Paul. The other thing, in the single family zoning, it describes prohibited structures and it says mobile home. So you have to read the whole code. There's also a definition section where it goes into mobile homes and campers. So that's all I say.
Corey Bryant,
Yes.
name, address, and confirm that you've sworn.
My name is Corey Bryant, 21 Turner Street. Just to address the committee about,
Can you please confirm you've sworn?
yeah, I was sworn in, yes. Just to address the committee about the structure, the property, everything. You have a creek right behind that property I'm familiar with. You have a runoff behind the property even before they even did anything to that property. The property, the only reason they elevated the dirt is because of the softness of the ground that was originally there. When the trees were there, it was like a marshland. It kept water in it. But everybody around here talking about proper procedure hadn't been followed, proper procedure hadn't been followed. Who do you blame when a person goes and gets the permit from one county that says you have to bring this information over here in order to receive the permit? When you get the permit, do you go back and blame that county for giving that permit? Or do you, how did that work? If she's saying she went to Jasper and she had to fill out all the paperwork in order even, before they even moved this structure, how did she get a passage from there? The communication gap between White Springs and Jasper and Hamilton County, it seems like everybody doing their own thing. But now y'all are new council. Y'all get a chance to correct a lot of the things that's going on, but you shouldn't punish your community behind a mistake that somebody else didn't follow up because you think it's a favor, so you're going to be hell-bent on coming to tell, oh, I'm going to expose that. Those people are not here. Old things have passed away. It's time for us to develop a new system here. Only way the system going to get right is we start today. We can't keep going back and saying, well, that's old, they shouldn't have been here, that's old. These people have, any of these people who have occupied these places that you're talking about, been involved in crime, been involved in polluting your community, throwing litter around. What are they contributing to this community? That's the question we need to stand on. Because it seems like everybody's so worried about legitimately, everybody want to be legally this and legally that. But if your mom was out there, you'll put a tent out there for your mom to stay in there. If she ain't had nowhere to go, you wouldn't worry about who, what, when said something. So when we go through this here, is all the procedures laid down that you go before you pull a permit, before you you check out a property? Where are they located? Everything is scattered out. So when I grab one piece, how am I gonna locate the other? I gotta be a researcher before I even be a common citizen? That's what my city hall's for. That's what my secretary's for. That's what my mayor for. That's what my governor. For me to be able to call somebody and get direction, right? We have come, we steady poking. But when we gonna stop and correct the system? It ain't the individuals in here, it's the system. Correct the system. Stop going after individuals and correct the system, because we all here together. The majority of us, it's 18 to 1900 of us in this whole county. And we around here trying to run somebody out who's bringing something, adding to the county. We rather see woods, we rather see god doggone litter, we rather see trees falling on our house when these bad storms come around. Everybody want to be an expert at building, but you ain't building nothing. You letting the trees, man, this is so out every time I walk by, it's a tree in the street because the people ain't pruning it. It ain't nobody to do it. So we need to embrace new people in this community. My family been here 160 years. Not me, my family. But what I'm saying, we got deep roots in this community. And every one of my family members here got generations after generations. We running the young people off. Who gonna be here for this place? If we keep y'all doggone treating them like we don't want them here, who gonna keep up these places When we get old and we can't ride that lawnmower. When we can't get old, we can't pick up that paper no more. When you get old and you can't get out of bed and you want somebody to go get your groceries, these young people gonna be the ones support us. So we gotta build the proper situation. That's all I got to say, and I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Mr. Bryant.
Applicant, do you have any rebuttal evidence to submit, or would you like to make a closing statement?
I just need to address the fact that,
Stand up.
the application, not me.
Stand up.
Oh. I want to address the fact that the application was submitted in full. Every page was submitted to Hamilton County, not one sheet of paper. And nothing was underhandedly done. No one tried to fraud anyone. Me, I work at Town Hall. Why would I try to fraud Town Hall? I really would like to know that. No, it was not underhandedly done. If I felt like I was underhandedly doing something, I would have had the previous administration rezone it before I even started. That's something you need to think about. If I felt like that, or if I knew that, I definitely would have had it rezoned before I even started the process.
Do board members have any additional questions for the applicant?
I don't have a question per se, but I do have some comments.
And we can take that later.
Huh?
We'll do that during discussion.
Okay, that'll be fine.
Mr. Garrett, do you have any rebuttal evidence to submit, or would you like to make a closing statement?
Oops, excuse me. I don't think it's appropriate for me to rebut, but I'd like to clarify. As far as the issue coming up for the flood-prone area or the flooding of the property, I think what you've got to look at there is the FEMA maps, and that's what we look at. Not topographic maps are helpful, but it's the FEMA maps that are reviewed by the town to determine if there's flooding. Now, when you're building up property, part of the permit process says that you're not supposed to be, you're supposed to keep the water on your property. Any drainage flow needs to be kept on the property. So that's a requirement. Okay. We don't know at this point whether that's a fact. As far as the site plan approval, I was just looking at the LDRs, and even though they don't generally, they don't specifically say that I could find, I don't think that residential uses are generally applicable to site and development plan approval. That's reserved for multifamily, for commercial, for industrial uses in that design. Now, as far as the layout on the building permit form, that's something that there should have been setbacks put in there as well. But that's a county form, and the county building inspector should be looking at those setbacks to make sure they're maintained in accordance with the code. So it's really, some of these things are germane to the property, but not germane to the rezoning.
So does the board have any questions for Mr. Garrett?
No.
No. Did you say no?
Yeah, on behalf of the board, I did have a couple questions for you for clarification. Sorry. In looking at evaluating it for rezoning, you're evaluating the property as it was, not as it had been improved afterwards?
That's correct. That's what I was trying to get at, and I don't know if I was clear.
I wanted to make sure. The other thing is that there have been applications talked about, but there's more than one application that I think is being talked about, and I think that needs to be clarified. The one with the setbacks, that's the permit for the mobile
It's a
home.
permit, right, and that's
That-
not germane to the rezoning.
Correct.
That was my point.
Gotcha.
We have concluded the public portion of the hearing for rezoning application RZ 2025-03 and ordinance 25-03. Board members, you have heard the evidence presented at this hearing along with the findings of staff. Is there a motion for consideration?
I move that we approved the, zoning, 2025-03.
It has been moved that we approve resolution or ordinance number 25-03. Do we have a second?
Second motion.
It's been motioned and second that we approve ordinance 2503. Let's open this for discussion. Is there any discussion? What?
The first reading.
The first reading.
First reading, I'm sorry.
You did, you read it, you read it.
Yeah, he did, but I didn't want to.
It's just the first reading of the hearing.
So it's not to approve the ordinance, it's to approve the application.
Approve the application. Okay, yes?
As far as legalities go, and I adore Sunita, I think she's putting in an absolute gorgeous home. I think it'll be an asset to the community. My questions are to precedent. If these things were not done, and if can we make an adjustment or an addendum, or I don't know how it works, to say that going forward, these are the procedures that have to be done. I mean, it's just, there were so many corners cut, and I don't think Cynthia did it. I think she's a victim of the prior council, as so many were. However, again, I'm afraid of setting precedent. Okay, let's ask for forgiveness rather than permission. Can you address that?
You're a lawyer.
Yes. So, couple things that are involved here. The town completed the paperwork, and then the county approved the paperwork. Yes. The errors that occurred are in the government policies and procedures. So the town's policies and procedures need to change, probably the county's policies and procedures need to change. I think we also heard that the wrong designation for zoning was put on multiple applications. And so it sounds like that was a systemic issue with the town and not necessarily an individual situation, at least from what has been put forth this evening.
Is there a way for us to investigate how frequently that issue happens?
We can ask the town to provide all permits that they've received from the county over the last couple of years. That is one way to do it.
That's for a future meeting.
But that's a systemic issue that as a council and as a planning and zoning board and everything that you're doing to put in new policies and procedures, that can be addressed. And then at the same time, the comprehensive, what do you call your committee?
Comprehensive
Plan committee, will be looking at the different zoning and that's gonna be something else at some point that the town is gonna have to do is probably determine what the actual use is for a lot of property currently compared to maybe what it wasn't intended for. It might be a more widespread problem than what we know until we find out. And then how you deal with that is how you deal with it. But for purposes of today, you have a rezoning application. And you have to decide on that, but as a council, you do have the ability to make sure you put in the right policies and procedures.
During this,
Not as part of this. This is a quasi-judicial matter, and what you're talking about is more legislative. And so that would be within your legislative duties to set up proper procedures make sure that the information gets out to the public.
And how will this not form precedent?
Because the people who were, once a town makes a mistake, it doesn't mean the town has to keep making that same mistake for everybody.
But won't the next person come out and say, oh,
So
well,
if somebody comes into town hall and they say, here's my building permit, sign this for me, and it's all wrong and it's messed up, and we sign it and take it off to the county, we've made a huge mistake. And if he takes that representation and does something with it, we keep making that mistake, then there's something wrong with us. Yeah, we're not doing our jobs correctly. So this is kind of a black swan event, an issue that happened with this particular instance where
you're
they were
thinking
given
it's
a
a
permit.
one-off, and like the one on Kendrick.
It may not be a one-off.
Might not
That's
be.
not what we're saying.
We have to
Yeah,
figure
but
that
so
out.
how do we protect ourselves against future going, well, look, you did it once?
Well, because anything that happens with those other properties, you're still gonna have to evaluate it according to the standards that are in the LDR. Your recommendation today is not based on, well, it's already done. You're supposed to be basing your decision and your vote and your recommendation on those 16 factors.
Just the 16 factors.
Just those 16. There's really nothing else in the LDRs that talks about how the application was completed and whether it was completed correctly. It's the only thing that's listed there are those 16 factors.
And like number 16, where it talks about in another place, it's because she's already made the,
No, I don't think that was the finding. I don't think that was the findings.
No, he said it was your unnecessary burden. Correct.
Oh, well, that's one factor that is there. But there's 16 factors. You don't have to have all 16 that meet. You have to have, looking at what a reasonable person will look at the evidence that's been presented in making your determination. Now, there's something to be said for what Robert said about the town and the county approving the permit and then a person acting on that to make it, expenditures, and then penalizing them for stupidly relying on
that's what
government.
they're doing for the Hutchinsons, though.
That happened to them as well, right?
But they're having to pay it. They're having to.
They just paying
Yeah, everybody got to pay.
All of them have to pay $1,000
Yeah.
per property.
This is out of scope of this,
But
but
yeah,
it
they
might
were,
make sense
they
for,
were relying
There's
on
no
more
difference.
information, and so they were penalized. And she relied on wrong information.
And she's being penalized. It's no
They're
difference.
all here under the same, they're here for the same reasons. They took some information that was provided to them by the town, and they acted on it, and then they found out that information wasn't correct, and here we are.
And on these, I have a couple of uncertains. How many uncertains makes it before you vote?
I can't answer that for you. There's no magic number.
He basically gave us the findings for each point.
Exactly.
Right. And there were some that I just had so many questions about. Most I did not. Most, I think it's an absolutely gorgeous home. I think it would be an asset to the neighborhood and stuff. It's just these circumstances that are killing me.
But that's not what we're here to judge, though. We're here to make
The
the decision based on the
these
zoning
circumstances,
districts.
these findings. And that's what I'm having trouble making
Oh,
it black and white.
with Mr. Garrett's findings?
Yeah, the staff findings.
So
They're
you
just,
have the same issue with the
Well-
previous one?
I can't tell you.
can I, because this is the first time I've seen this. And with my questions, do I have to fill this out tonight and turn it in?
You need to turn it in tonight, but remember, this is the first hearing. So this is only about making a recommendation, and then there will be a second hearing in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And so,
Then
you
I can get
just,
my answers clarified next
So
week.
if you get new information, you get your answers, decide it's an issue or whatever, you can change the vote.
right.
So I could mark recommendation with conditions, even though I have no clue what I'm talking about?
Well, there's a motion on the table, so it would be, yeah, there was a motion. So it would be whether you vote yea or nay on the motion as presented.
And it was yes or no on the.
Whether, so the motion was to approve,
It just was on motion and second, it has not been approved yet.
oh, but the motion was to approve the
To approve the
application.
record, yes.
The application is what I have questions on.
And if you don't have enough information to make that vote, then you're not bound. You have to make
They
the
still
decision.
have a majority.
I don't know. Until they vote, I don't know. But this is only the first hearing, and then there is a second hearing
Okay.
in 2 weeks. So there's time for you to get additional answers if you need them. If you're not comfortable, making the vote one way or the other, you do have to vote.
Yeah.
But how you vote
But
is
if I
up
vote
to
no
you.
today, it doesn't mean forever and ever, amen.
Correct.
Okay. Now,
Is there any more discussion?
Yes, I have a few things. First, I want to start about the same email that Judith mentioned from the attorney. In this attorney's email, I have a lot of questions. First of all, we've heard from the people whose property, who is directly adjacent to the property in question. The letter he sent said, good morning, this is the one that was directed to you, Robert. Good morning, Councilman Gansby, and thank you for your email. I would like to thank you for your time and attention to this matter. I know the town has many pressing issues right now, but this is an important one that needs the town's attention. As an owner of adjacent property, my client objects to a rezoning of the property to allow for mobile home development, creating a zoning district in this area that allows for construction and placement of mobile homes and contrary to the town's code and to the county's comprehensive plan. Further, such a rezoning would certainly have a negative impact on the value of surrounding properties. We believe these reasons are why the previous town employees processed and approved the application in the manner in which they did, with no transparency, false information, and backdoor dealing. Now, I know we heard from 2 people adjacent to it. Then we have a letter from Dwayne Graham, who is directly adjacent to it. I don't know who Mr. Patrick is representing, but that's a lie. Just a point out lie, because he does not own any property, and no one he is representing owns any property adjacent to where Ms. Brown and Ms. Williams' property will be. Letter from Dwayne Graham supporting it. You have the Church of God who's supporting it. You have Mr. Paul who's supporting it. These are the people who are directly adjacent to this property within 50 to 100, 200, 500 feet. So I am concerned about that part as false. Then when we have the different people getting up speaking, and I keep hearing the term fraud, deception. I've heard so much conflicting statements today. You will, Miss Judith, I love you, you know this, but you said, you made a statement about you didn't have any objections to the Hutchinsons getting their property rezoned, and it was zoned commercial neighborhood. But when you spoke on the Williams and Brown property, you said you don't see why it needs to be zoned, leave it like it's zoned. How can you, in an unbiased opinion, make a statement that conflicts itself?
Please don't address members of the audience. Also,
Well, I'm trying to clear a point of this testimony that I've heard. Even on a jury, we get to question witnesses' testimony. I'm listening to different things that conflict, but you're speaking on two different properties. One, it's okay, one, it's not. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with the process. The process, okay, was done. Maybe Audrey didn't know what she was doing. But over the past 20 years, between Shirley Heath and Pam Tomlinson, they both signed off on zoning issues, property permits, things of that nature. Am I correct, Ms. Brown? Okay, neither one of them was the town manager. Those were both clerks and financial clerks, but they both signed off on property. So that's another X on some of the statements that have been made. I'm just not understanding what is the issue. She's not asking you to do it for free. Y'all brought up the fact that it had to be a fee. They're willing to pay the $1,000 fee. So now she's willing to pay the fee. Now it's something different. I'm not really sure which of you have made the statement about what was done in the past, but this was just done a few moments ago when we brought up the Diamond Flats, during the when the Hutchinson was getting started in the council meeting. You all said we cannot correct what's done in the past. This permit, what Audrey done signed, they may not have put the correct listing down, but they still put it was for a mobile home, and it's still single family. The only difference they're adding from single family resident to single family resident mobile home. And I don't understand why it should be such a question or objection to changing something that's already a single family residence to single family resident mobile home and on a street surrounded by mobile home, but you can give permission to change a commercial neighborhood zoning that the county also has a different listing for, and make that a single family mobile home. So, I mean, I'm just trying to understand the gist of this. You have in your packet 1, 2,
Nikki, I'm gonna have to ask you.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7 letters from people in the neighborhood. Most of them are adjacent to the property, not like the falsified email from Mr. Patrick, whatever his name is, that they are supporting this. And if it floods back into the land, it's on their land. So that's all I want to say, but y'all need to really think about the things you're doing and saying and what is driving you or who is driving you to do this.
Yeah, I just want to remind the board that we are going to consider competent, substantial, fact-based testimony and evidence agreeing that they are meeting the criteria for the 16 requirements. You know, like I said in the beginning, it's good that people came up and told us whether they approve it or not, but it has to be just a stone cold, do we meet the requirements or do we not meet the requirements?
Well, what I want to say is that I'm proud that the people that lives around that neighborhood came forward and spoke on behalf of them, because I was wondering how was that going to play out. Even though you have a church and a mobile home, then you have the I Love White Springs neighbor across the street. I was wondering, was that going to be a conflict? I mean, not a conflict, but a problem. But since the neighbor across the street said that he's glad that somebody put something there on that property, it shouldn't really be an issue. Because I'm looking at further on down the future, this is White Springs. You only have so much property, and people will put a mobile home on a property quicker than they will try to build a house. It's easier for them to put a mobile home on a property than to build a house. Some people, I look at a friend up the road from me, he just built his house. And it took him some years to build that house. But moving in a mobile home, if you have a family and I'm a single parent too. And it's not easy to, find somewhere to stay. When you by yourself, you got to support your children. But on behalf of that, the neighbors don't mind, the church don't mind. The people that lives around in that area, they don't mind. So we don't need to make a big stink about it. Mr. Garrett, he's already pointed out the 16 findings. So he already let us know what we need to do. And what everything is, through in by planning and zoning and the law. So, there shouldn't be a big issue about somebody's having a place to lay their head.
Is there any more discussion? Andy? Cheryl, any more discussion? All right, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt,
Recommend approval.
that we recommend approval for ordinance 25-01. We bring it to a vote. All in favor say approve.
Or rezoning application.
Oh, three.
I'm sorry.
Oh, three.
Oh, okay.
All right. You're right. I did the wrong number. All right, I understand. It has been moved and seconded that we recommend the adoption of ordinance 25-03. We will bring it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. No. Passes 3 votes for yes, 1 vote for no. The board has heard and voted on all applications. This ends the quasi-judicial portion of our meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move that you had something to say? I move that we adjourn this hearing, for the rezoning applications 2025-01, 2025-02, and 2025-03.
Second motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. Any discussion?
No.
No? All right, let's bring it to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 4 yeses, 0 noes. The time is 9:48 and we stand adjourned.